Well, my friends, this is Erica Lukes here on UFO Classified, and every Friday night I am so excited to be here to hang out with my friends from all over the world. And it is really exciting to me that every week I am getting calls and messages from people that are, literally, after we did the Travis Walton show, thanks to my co host, Scott Brown, I got a wonderful call from the UK. People are paying attention to what we are doing here on UFO Classified, and this is important because right now, as you know, I say this every week, we are getting our heads filled with disinformation. We're seeing new actors appear on the scene who have a lot of nonsense to say and really, at the end of the day, lead us away from our true objective, which is finding the truth. So I encourage each and every one of you, when a new actor comes out into the field, to make sure if they're putting forward credentials, do a little homework. Because I would be willing to bet if you did your homework, you would find that these people are living on a house of cards. And when we get done figuring out their backgrounds, we'll make sure we share that with you, because that is not what is going to push us forward for finding truth, for getting disclosure, for just having a good time, which I'm so in need of. I want to just first of all thank everybody that gets in there and supports the show. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. And you could also go to ufoclassified.com or click the links that my friend Mario will be providing to pledge your support to become a Patreon. I want to thank all of the people that do, because if it wasn't for you, this show wouldn't be here. We need support because I am on a really big, I'm trying to preserve history. As people that follow me know, I have one of the biggest archives in the United States. And to my knowledge, I am one of the only female archivists in the world who is currently doing this to preserve history and to make sure that the work of people who have put their whole lives into the subject, that they're remembered. And so I want to thank my dear friend Barry Greenwood, who has been mentoring me, because today I got a little box in the mail. And ooh, I've got some goodies, so many goodies that Barry is sending me. I could just go on and on and on. I'll post some pictures, but I love it. And I really value his friendship. He is going out to Dave Marler's house with Jen Aldrich. Dave is also another archivist, and they're going to be scanning the QFOS files. And so we will be doing a show with them in the next week. I will keep you posted on that. It should be good. But together, here in America, we are doing the right thing. We're making sure that history is not rewritten, it is not forgotten. And so on that note, I'd like to welcome Scott Brown to the show. Scott, how are you doing tonight?
Good, good. Glad to be here. Glad to see
Good.
Damien.
I know, this is exciting. And so Scott has been not only my partner in crime with Mario, but we've had, obviously the Travis Walton adventure. All of these things that we are trying to uncover to make the subject a better place. I love it. And I've got to commend you for your hard work and for taking hits, and we'll do it together, and you know how this goes. But you brought Damien on. You arranged the interview with him. And so why don't you give Damien's intro?
Well, I guess as far as I know, and Damien can, correct me if I'm wrong. He had a sighting when he was about 9 years old, and this turned into a lifelong pursuit of this phenomena. And as he's gotten older, he's captured thousands of images, video footage. He's been involved in the documentary Australian Skies. And he's working on some of his own documentaries, which he's putting together. And, we're glad to have him here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on the show, guys.
Yeah, no, Damien, I've heard about you for quite some time, and so it's been, and I think we communicated, a couple years ago. But it's so cool to actually talk to you and then to learn from some of the things that you have experienced, because you've kind of thrown yourself into this, and you've had some pretty trippy experiences.
Yeah, yeah, I've had a few trippy. That's a good way of
A
putting it.
few, a
Yeah,
few. I'm thinking
a
more than a
couple.
few.
Yeah,
But and so
trippy's a good word for it.
and so tell us, because there are people that are listening to the show that are new and to the subject and then new to your work. And so if you don't mind just kind of starting from the beginning when you were 9 years old and you had that first encounter.
Yeah, sure. I was in a place called Blacktown in Western Sydney, here in New South Wales, and I was heading home. Basically, I was late. I was gonna, if I was late for dinner, my mum would, I'd get in a lot of trouble. So I was like thinking about getting home. It was Sunday evening. I had school the next day, and then I was just walking. I got to the top of a hill on the street adjacent to mine, and for some reason, I don't know why to this day, but I looked up, and straight above me, it would have been maybe 12 to 15 feet thereabouts, going by memory, was a ball of light, a red ball of light, probably about maybe a little bit bigger than a basketball, from memory again. Uh, and it just sort of it followed me when I'd walk, and when I'd stop, it would stop. And I watched it for about maybe a good 30, 40 seconds doing this, as I kept walking and stopping. And it seemed like a lifetime at the time, but I felt like I was trapped in some surreal kind of twilight zone. I remember the feeling at the time. I was just like, is this real? Am I seeing this? And at first I even wrote it out of my own mind and thought, oh no, it's nothing. And then I looked up again, and then I realized this thing's bigger, and and what it was doing. And then so that kind of got me interested in the phenomenon. And then it wasn't until 3 years later, and I had a sighting of three balls of light. One of them was another red ball of light, which appeared first, and then a blue ball of light, then a greeny yellow colored ball of light. And they were chasing this red ball of light like vast distances across the sky. And then they would change direction at the drop of a hat, no forward inertia whatsoever. 90-degree left-hand turns, right-hand turns, you name it. And this happened for about 10, 15 minutes. As far as UFO sightings go, it was a long time. So it was my brothers and I, like they're my stepbrothers, we watched this. We were amazed. We even called my father out, and apparently he came out and saw it as well. And then went back inside because he wasn't too interested, whatever. But it's something that kind of stuck with us, and it stuck with me, and it kind of reaffirmed what I saw 3 years earlier when I was 9. When I was 12, I saw the same thing again. I said to my brother, "So that's what I saw. It's I've seen this before and whatnot." So, and they were blown away. And still, like for years afterwards, like whenever we'd catch up, that would be one of the first things that would come up in our conversation, was this talking about this sighting that we had, which really affected us as children. Probably me more so because I'm the one who's looking into the subject and stuff like that. But I know it affected them because it makes you question your own self and your own where you're from and what's going on in the universe and all that. So the kind of the fundamental questions that philosophers have had for many thousands of years. It's all those questions have always amazed me and given me curiosity. Why are we here and all that subject, and I feel, and I've always felt, that this subject with ufology may be the closest thing that we can have to find out what our purpose is. Why are we here? Who knows? We probably never will, but at the same time, I believe that if anything knows what we are, it's these beings, or whatever you want to call them, or extra dimensional, or ETs, or whatever the case is. So that launched me into, after that sighting with my brothers, it launched me into like pretty much I would pick up any book I could at the school libraries and the local library. I'd go anywhere. I'd ask friends if they had any books on UFOs or ghosts or anything weird like that. I always was curious as a kid, so I grew up curious. And over my lifetime, I probably saw about a very small handful of UFOs, leading up to about 10 years ago, when I moved up to the country here. And then when I moved up here, I realized that on the second night I was here, I saw a massive white ball of light, and this was half the size of the neighbor's home behind us. And I watched it glide silently over the home, just perfectly, no noise, no sound, nothing at all, just a massive ball of light. It was huge, and it's rare they come down that low. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to film it because I just went out the back to look up at the sky for 2 seconds, and there it was. And your reaction. You just stand there and watch it. You're in awe, so a lot of these sightings that you do see, you're in awe of, so it's hard to kind of like run away, grab a camera, then come back, because you just want to see the whole thing. So a lot of my better sightings, I've had either issues with the camera, the battery, SD cards, that kind of thing, or I just haven't been able to get the camera in time, or I've come back outside and it's been gone. So I'd rather enjoy the experience nowadays. So if I see something, I'll wait till it's unless I've got a camera on me at the time, but I'll wait till it's over, and then because I've missed too many good ones like that. But the phenomenon itself is incredible. It's amazing. It can be quite beautiful and quite scary at the same time, because it's an unknown.
Right. And thank you for sharing that. And that must have been quite interesting because, like you said, your brothers were experiencing this, but it was really you that kind of went down that path. And so I want to ask you a question, but first I want to just thank Steve. And he writes a comment in here. Hi, Erica, Scott Mario. What always impresses me with Damien as a repeater experiencer is that he doesn't speculate as to the nature of the phenomena. And I have noticed that in listening to some of your interviews, you don't do that, which is something I think is very, very important, and that can lead, I think down some rabbit holes that we don't need to go. But so thank you, Steve, and I also want to thank Ara for getting in there and donating. This is really awesome. And so, Damien, let me ask you. When you had that sighting, how did your brothers react after that initial thing? And it sounds like they kind of pulled away while you were gung ho. And did they what were their thoughts on that?
Well, they were blown away at the time, and even the following day, they were still pretty blown away by what we'd experienced the previous night. And even still nowadays, I mean, they'd be still blown away by it. But I think I got affected more because of the sighting I had 3 years prior. So that was kind of like an affirmation for me. My brother seeing the other red ball with me 3 years later, because it kind of affirmed that I did see what I saw, and it wasn't my imagination. My mum told me originally it was an aeroplane, and I was like, no, it's not an aeroplane. There's no way in the world. Even at the age of 9, I knew it wasn't an aeroplane. So I questioned her, and I'm always a person who's questioning things that people tell me, and like with science, like I prefer to make mistakes and find out the truth eventually than claim that I know what the answer is straight off the bat, because this is a strange phenomenon, and you can't.
Did you just say
nobody
that?
Knows.
Really?
What's that?
You're kind of like a breath of fresh air. I just need to stand back and take that in for a minute. Wow. Okay, thank you. Continue.
You're right. So it's kind of one of those things nobody has the answers for, and those who say they and claim they do are normally full of it. They've got a book to sell, or they've got some sort of agenda, or they want to get followers, or it's a typical UFO cult scene. And so I every time I start to get a little bit infamous over the years, I kind of back away and disappear from Facebook and everything, because I'm trying not to make it about me as much as possible. I'm trying to make it about the phenomenon, and that's what's important. People need to talk about the phenomenon, not speculate why it's happening to me and all this sort of stuff. I don't even speculate on that. I don't know. I have no idea why some people see nothing in their whole lives, and then other people see few things. Other people see one thing. Who knows why? Maybe it's coincidence. I just think I look up in the air more than most people. So, I've had that training since I was a kid. I've known that there's stuff out there, and so every chance I've gotten, I've looked up. But saying that, there has been some times there's been some utter coincidence, serendipities, you name it, revolving around some of the sightings, especially. Sometimes they seem to know where you're pointing the camera in the sky. It's really, really strange. Sometimes they appear, like you'll go outside and you'll see nothing straight away, but you'll look up in one area of the sky and you'll look at it for 2 or 3 seconds, and all of a sudden, boom, a massive bright flash in that part of the sky, and you're like, whoa, where did that disappear? And then it'll move over here, and then it'll move in another direction, another bright flash. And this happens a lot. These I've called them the flashes out here in Dunedoo. A decade ago, I started filming them, and I can't work out any rhyme or reason. I mean, some of these things are filmed at midnight when the sun's on the other side of the earth, so it's not reflection off a satellite or anything like that. These things are moving independently. They're changing direction in between flashing, doing left-hand turns and doing like little maneuvers in the sky and appearing over here. And one time in town here, actually, we had multiple witnesses see jets come into town from the Air Force Base up at Newcastle. And normally this is a Air Force fly zone over this area to Dubbo, so Dubbo to Newcastle. Anyway, one night we saw all these. I got a phone call from the other side of town, and it was a person I knew who was telling me, look over in this area of town. There's this massive flashing light hanging above one of the street lights. It was just came right down above a street light and was going boom, and then sucking in on itself, then boom, and sucking. And we watched this, and the person I was with, we watched it as well. It was seen by about 7 people in town at the time, and then within 5 minutes of this light above the the pole, excuse me, 2 Air Force jets have come into town really fast and started following, excuse me, these areas. And we started seeing multiple flashes of light all around these jets, and even flashes of light that would follow the jets as they're moving. So the jets would come back around again, and we'd never seen them do that except for 10 years ago when we had UFOs in town the last time. It was a really strange coincidence because we rarely ever see the Air Force jets in town here. It's rare they do flyovers. It's and especially when they come back and circle the town a few times with UFOs. Or when I say UFOs, I can't identify what these lights are. So, but they're really strange. And so, yeah, this place is a bit of a crazy kind of hotspot sometimes. But to tell you the truth, I have not seen anything in a while now, so it's been really dry, really quiet.
And then you live on that adrenaline, and you're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, and all of a sudden the adrenaline's gone. It's back to normal life.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm telling you, and I can relate to that. It's really interesting. I live in Utah, and we're home to quite a few military installations. Dugway Proving Ground. I should probably quit bringing that up on the air. The Utah Test and Training Range. We have Hill Air Force Base and things. And back in 2014, there was a mass daytime sighting, and there were these spherical objects that were hovering over Salt Lake Valley, and people started this like 2 in the afternoon, and they were, at a dead standstill, and then people would notice that some of them would move in unison, and then the others would take off at a breakneck speed. And then I got contacted by a reporter from a news agency here, and they said, Erica, we're getting flooded with calls here, and pictures and all sorts of things. Can you look into this? And I started, messaging everybody on Facebook. Okay, what are you seeing? Send me your photos. And then the next day, interestingly enough, the objects appeared in Breckenridge, Colorado, and that was picked up by a reporter called by the name of Matt Renew. And Matt did a great, project, or you can find it on YouTube actually, but he interviewed local policemen. He tried to get a hold of NORAD, who made a statement. They didn't know what this was. A lot of witnesses in both states said that there were military craft flying around these objects, appearing to either monitor the objects or, or they were accompanying them. And so with this case, I did an FAA, a FOIA request for radar data, and twice from the FAA, we got back unreadable text format, which was interesting. And then finally, definitely, in another case that I had, the American Airlines case, which was a really cool case too, we had somebody, Martin Schaff from England, I believe, who looked at this and could finally pick out some data, and there was an unusual amount of fighter jets in the area at the time of the sighting. So it was really, really unusual. So it's amazing, and thank you for sharing your story, and thanks for letting me share mine, because it's mind blowing. And whether, at the end of the day, this is something that we're testing, we're seeing how people react, or we're going over areas where, you've got population, and we're trying to, do reconnaissance. I mean, I don't know I think there are lots of possibilities, but I want to ask you, because you've seen so much, what have you filmed something? Have you seen something that at first you thought this might be something paranormal, but then later went back and said, okay, wait a minute, this might actually have a more mundane explanation?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you could meet any UFO hunter or UFO experience or whatever who's gone outside and actively tried to film the skies and not made a mistake. Um, so back in the day, like there's a lot of what I've noticed in the field, especially in the new age side of ufology that's crept in. A lot of people will take photos of, three photos of the sky, and then one photo they'll see a little something in it, and oh my god, it's a UFO, and and no matter what you say, you can't disprove because they believe it so much in their heads that it's a UFO. So I I probably angered a lot of people in the new age field, like with the old website, because I'd spend probably about 130 hours all up over a period of 7 years outside purpose. And this sounds crazy, but purposely filming insects, birds, lens flares on 62 different cameras of all different makes, all different price range, all different sensors, megapixels, you name it. Just to see what certain things look like under certain. And I must admit, even at first, I was taken back because some of the things look really unusual, and you're like, wow. And it turns out there may be an insect close to the screen, or it's a bird that's flying at an unusual angle, or and it's reflecting light a certain way, or it's an insect in the sky that's refracting light from the sun through it, so it looks like a little glowing thing, and so it's once you work out the differences between everything, it takes a lot of work and practice, then you can sort of say, okay, well, that's that, and that is this is definitely something strange, and that's something mundane, like you were saying. This is something benign, and most captures nowadays, unfortunately, are something benign because they're not. This is why now I only show things that I see with the naked eye, and also stuff that I've had witnesses with me as well who've seen it, and I have some video and hopefully multiple videos as well, because I always get people around me to film too. And so just so that because some people, like the skeptics out there, and there's even like Harvard, who believe that it's something to do with the human mind, this whole thing. There was a study a while ago which I was recommended for, and it was from Harvard Medical School, and it was to do with a part of the brain from people under MRI scans that lights up, and they don't know what this part of the brain does. And they found that people, or experiences, or whatever you want to call people who see multiple UFOs, seem to have this part of the brain that lights up under MRIs, that we don't know what that part of the brain does. And I'm not sure where the study's gone now, or what's happening with it. But to be admitted to the study, it had to be recommended. You had to have, I think, between over 13 or 15 sightings. All of those had to have multiple witnesses. All of those had to have video and photographic evidence. Plus, you have to have some sort of physical trace, or some sort of physical evidence of contact, or something like that. So, and it was really strange. It was really bizarre. But when I said, yeah, I'll do it, and we had the Zoom conversation, and we spoke to them and everything, and agreed, we're going to send over MRIs. Within like a week and a half, like I lost everything. Everything went down. My website, to my public figure page, A.A.P.I. Got hacked into, had a whole bunch of really strange things happen. So that sort of told me, I thought, okay, well, maybe someone doesn't want me to do this Harvard thing. So I kind of like pushed back on them, like, yeah, okay, well, I've got a lot of stuff on at the moment anyway. At the time, I was dealing with a lot of health issues because I had something happen a couple of years ago that kind of really affected my life and health. And so that's part of the reason why I'm up in the country now, to try and get some fresh country air and recuperate and put a bit of weight back on and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, it's been a really crazy roller coaster over the last 2 years.
Wow. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry that you're having health issues, and I'm glad that you're getting away and recuperating. You look really good. So I best to you. So Harvard initiated
Medical,
this
yeah.
study. And so who specifically, if you can tell us, who reached out to you, who was a part of this study? Because I know over here in America, there are specific names that you have, groups of people that are involved, with the MRI thing and medical
Yeah.
studies.
Sure. It was a gentleman, an Indian gentleman, postdoctoral scholar, that worked for Harvard Medical School. I think his name was Akilla, Akilla, or a. Sorry, don't quote me on that because I haven't checked out his name for a while. It's one of those Indian names. It's a bit hard to pronounce, but no, really lovely man. And we spoke for a while, and I thought, okay, this is really interesting. And I think that they were trying to get to maybe prove a point that possibly this area that's lighting up could be because maybe we're projecting something, or people are seeing something. It's got something to do with their mind. Maybe I don't know what route they were going down with all that, but it's I thought it's interesting. It'd be interesting to find out, if my brain is like this as well, and if I'm, more of a super freak than what I think I am.
I think we're all super freaks, but
yeah,
you
well,
came to
you
the
gotta
right
be
place.
to be, stick it out in this subject, so it helps. That's for sure. But yeah, I just found it interesting, so I just thought, why not? I'll give it a shot. But I'm not sure. I can't tell you any more details. I don't know any more details about it, like in regards to who else was chosen or picked for the study or whatever. So I can't really tell you much. But as far as I know, there were others that had this thing in the brain, or at least one other, as far as I know.
And so did he share research with you, or did he just tell you about the
Just told
study?
me, yeah.
Okay.
Just told me about it. Yeah, it was pretty basic, straightforward. So only what I needed to know, I guess.
Oh, of course. And,
Yeah.
and so were you supposed to go to a specific place to have the MRI?
I could have just got it from my doctor, and I actually mentioned it to my doctor, and he kind of ignored it because he just thought it was crazy. Because I said it's for a guy about UFOs, and he's like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, no, he was cool because my doctor, I've known him for 16 years, and he knows about the whole UFO thing. We always used to have jokes about it, and it's funny because there's a massive stigma attached to the UFO thing, especially in the UFO field. In the medical field, I've noticed. If you mention to a doctor, yeah, I see balls of light flying around, they kind of like go, okay, well,
not
no
the
worries.
best thing to go. Yeah,
go down and see the mental hospital down the road here.
Pretty
Here's
much.
some tablets. Yeah, here's some. I had had it happen up here at Dubbo, like an hour away, 10 years ago. And I was in the weekend paper because Tucson Herald journalists were in the backyard here, and they actually witnessed 2 UFOs fly over the yard playing a game of tag with the president of UFO Research New South Wales. And they were blown away. They were amazed. So they put the story in the paper. They said that they saw what they saw and everything. But it's funny because after they came into town and everything, that's when everything blew up, the story. When it's rare that people will come into town, especially UFO groups or investigators or whatever, and after a report in that town of UFOs being seen, it's rare they'll go into that town and then see the same UFOs that were reported. But in this case, I was lucky enough, and at the time it was enough of a hotspot here in Dunedoo that the sightings kept on continuing. And it was really, really strange. So they'd be quite frequent a decade ago. And it's dropped down a little bit since I've been here. But always for the first maybe 7 nights, I never saw anything when I came back up here. But then I witnessed something over an area where there's a small mountain range. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. At least they're here again. Awesome. But they always have been here. You know what I mean? They're everywhere around the world, as far as I know. They're all over the shop. And I've been lucky enough to get some really good footage of nighttime with night vision binoculars, and also in composite photography as well at nighttime. And of lights, strange shaped lights, and some would call them like a tic-tac shape. That's what some people have mentioned, but I don't care about shapes or anything. There's a lot more important stuff than shapes in UFOs. But what these things would do would hang above the mountain and then tilt on an angle and then fly down, stop again with no forward inertia again, stop, and then dive into the mountain range at an even steeper angle. And it's incredible. I mean, stuff like this, it's not meant to happen. These things are literally melting into the ground, which is strange, and also into the water as well, into the Trafalgar River here in Dunedoo. So we've found that some of the right above the area where they're hanging is the river, and then you've got the mountain just next to it. So they're either diving into the mountain or the river, disappearing completely, but they're ducking behind another small hill, so it's kind of hard to see where they're actually going. But yeah, I've captured in this one area, and they seem to be aware as well, because I'll stand on my balcony and I can see right down into town over these homes and into this area where my uncle has, a farm, and over his farm is where this stuff is happening. And it's where I took some scientists a few months ago, and we hung out there, and we didn't see anything, but we had a massive flash of light around us.
Interesting.
And the flash of light enveloped us, and we didn't know where it was coming from. We looked up in the sky straight afterwards, there's nothing there. But I left a camera running here taking composite photography. So it layers, composite photography is when it layers photo over photo, but it only keeps the photos that there's a change of light in. So what you see in the photograph is a massive one of these flasher type UFOs appeared above us while we're standing there. That's what the flash of light we saw. Was this thing had come down so low and it was so big, and you see this big egg-shaped ball hanging on an angle just before it's even dark. This is during the daytime still. It was just, the sun was going down. It was incredible. And so, I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of activity here, a lot of strange activity just in that one area, which is great. I'm trying to concentrate on that at the moment. Yeah.
And it is interesting how there are different hotspots all over the world. And I wanted to say, Trevor, we will show some footage here in a little bit, but I want to get back to the MRI really quick, because this is something that is very interesting to me, specifically with my work on Skinwalker Ranch and some of the characters that have come around with that and the MRI studies. When you were asked to take an MRI, who was paying for that here in America that costs thousands of dollars, with insurance? And so was that something that they were willing to pay for you?
No, there was no mention of payment. I didn't realize that it cost thousands over there. Here you can get them for free.
Wow.
So yeah. So I guess we're kind of lucky in that respect. So yeah, there was no money transaction thing happening or anything like that. But yeah, I was more than willing to do it. It just after all that stuff that happened, and I was just too unwell to deal with it, and I was like, yeah, okay. So then I backed away from ufology altogether for about 7 months, just disappeared. Because I had a broken back as well. I broke my back in 3 places, and after I had a encounter with a ball of light, I started having seizures within a couple of days. My dog, who was sitting next to me at the time, started having seizures, and I had to eventually put him down after a couple of weeks because they got worse and worse and worse. Wow. And I was going in and out of hospital with these seizures, and they couldn't stop them, and they didn't know what was causing them or what had caused them. And then they found that I had bone issues, a thing called hypophosphatemic osteomalacia, which is like a rare bone disease, hyper rare, and it's caused by one of the causes is gene mutations or exposure to radiation. Now that's a scary thing, because they found that my bones were that weak, they were on par with a 90-year-old woman's bones. This is after this incident where I had this light, and another part of this incident, I was wearing a jacket at the time because it was a winter night, and I felt this, like I put my arm up in front of my face because there was this intense flash of light from this object, and I don't know if it was what it was, but it kind of lit up my entire vision. I felt this warmth, and then I went to bed and I was like, okay, that was weird. It blinked out, it was gone. My dog and then my dog started barking after it blinked out, which was really strange as well. And then I've crashed out in the garage, because I was at the office. It was in the garage, and I had a little sofa thing in case I worked too late, so I could just crash in there and not wake everyone up in the house. And here I am crashing out, wake up in the morning, and I go and bring Mel in a coffee, and I'm like, oh, here you go. And she's like, oh, look at yourself in the mirror. I'm like, what? She goes, oh, you look like crap. And I'm like, thanks, that's good. And I'll go and look in the mirror, and sure enough, my eyes are virtually nearly stuck together. My face is swollen, had red splotches all over it. My neck had red splotches all over it. And then over a period of about a week, my arm started getting red underneath the jacket, like that I was wearing that night. My arm started getting red and red and redder, and then it started blistering. These really strange green blisters. We went to multiple doctors, specialists, Mel and I, professors even, eventually trying to work out what was wrong with me. They were giving me multiple diagnoses like celiac disease and lactose tolerance and all this other stuff. And they kept changing their story, and apparently this thing, whatever it was, had affected through my jacket without affecting my jacket on the outside. It had burnt my arm. So it got really bad over like 3 weeks. And during this time, I'm having seizures. You know, fracturing. I fell over during one of these seizures and broke my back in 3 places. You know, and I just thought, like, it's kind of like was a hit in the face for me, because I thought, you know, they've let me photograph them in the past without a problem at all. And what was this incident about? What was it about? You know, it really freaked me out. And that's why I left after for several months. Like Mel saw everything that happened. She was there. And it was just a freaky experience for me. It was something that then I started looking into the negative aspects of UFOs more, and cases of negative contact with humans, because a lot of people say that all this is positive and aliens are positive, and Dr. Greer says aliens are all positive and all this sort of stuff. How can you say something like that there's no evil, it's everyone's good and they have our best, you know, intentions at heart? But in reality, they seem to show more of an indifference to us humans most of the time. You know, they don't interfere. They sort of seem to keep to themselves as much as possible, except for, you know, the abduction style scenario or whatever the case is. I can't speak about that too much because aliens don't seem to want to talk to me. They
you might want to be glad about that.
Yeah, well, if I started hearing voices in my head, I'd be worried about myself too. But it's they don't seem to talk to me like they talk to seemingly to all these other people that tell them stuff about nuclear weapons being bad and stuff like that. They don't tell me that stuff. But I don't know. Maybe my frequency is not high enough.
Oh, no, well, I mean,
I had to throw that in.
Yeah, thank you. I like that little, yeah. So let me, you know, ask you then. So was this, you had this experience before or after they contacted you from Harvard?
It was before. Yeah, not long before.
Okay. And did you post any of that or put that out in the public forum?
No, I have spoken about the Harvard thing before. I've spoken about it probably in about 3 podcasts now, or maybe 3 or 4 podcasts in the past few months. So, yeah, it's been spoken about, and I did speak about it not long after it. While I was still ill, actually, I did when I was like I was white, gaunt, and everything, and I lost heaps of weight. And I did an interview for UFO Research Queensland here in Australia, and yeah, I looked like absolute hell. But it turns out, like, one of the specialists who was looking at my bones said this was a condition that I've had for a while, and that really spun me out because, you know, if I had a broken back for a while and all these bone issues for a while, it means I've been walking around like, you know, it means that something has built up in my system. And I know in the past I've had 3 UFOs that have come a decent, when I say UFOs, I mean little balls of light, like not, you know, flying nuts and bolts craft or anything like that. I'm talking about balls of light that have come up near me. And I was with an author we're doing a skywatch at a place called Tipperary, which is this little valley, a tiny valley, and it has lights that fly into the valley all the time. It's really strange. And so we're there, and the weirdest thing happened. Like, I've got cameras set up behind us in the valley, and we've got the 3 of us got our backs to the cameras and to the valley, and all of a sudden the EMF meter, the tri-field meter, starts pinging right off the chart. So something was around in the localized area breaking the Earth's magnetic field. So we're like, okay, this is strange. And we're all talking about it. You can hear it on the video. And meanwhile, a light has flown down from the sky, and it wasn't a ball of light. It was like a column of light, like a shaft. It was maybe about 6 feet long. It's hard to tell because of the speed it went into the ground, but it flew over my arm, down the length of my arm. Literally, I could have stuck my finger out because at the time I was leaning down to grab a camera, and this thing just went and sort of kind of changed direction a little bit, and then tilted into the ground like this, melted, no sound, no anything, into the ground. And I jumped about maybe 20 feet upwards into the sky. Mike jumped backwards. You know, Lance heard the whole thing because he just walked off to the van. He's like, "Run back! What happened? What happened?" And we're like, "Oh, you just missed a light flying." But anyway, the following morning, we looked at the video of the valley in Tipperary behind us, which we weren't looking at the time. We watched the video. Sure enough, in the video, we've caught these lights coming down from up high, changing direction multiple times, then flying into the valley directly behind us. No sound, no anything. If they were meteorites, even tiny meteorites, we're away from the city. Everything's pitch quiet in this area. Even someone throwing a rock into the bushes down below, you'd hear it. It would bang. It would. So a meteorite coming down, changing direction multiple times, would make a sound because you can see it clearly. It's going into the valley directly behind us. So it's coming inside this mountain range just behind us. And these things. So we saw one of these lights up close and personal. So if this is the case, that means that this may be built up in me. The whole hypophosphatemic osteomalacia and the it may be a slow build-up of multiple UFO sightings that have come up close. So from when he said that, the specialist, the bone specialist, that really spun me out because I thought, okay, wow, so it's not just this incident that's caused this. It may be something much longer and, much further back that started off. It might be a whole, like a joining of all these things together, and all of a sudden, bammo, you're unwell. I don't know. None of the doctors or specialists or even the professor could give us an answer. And we spent tens of thousands of dollars over,
Wow.
Several months trying to find out an answer. So.
And so did the professor from Harvard, did he feel that there was a connection between your health effects and what you were witnessing?
Yeah, well, they all did. They all said there's definitely a connection because Mel and I would point it out to them. 1 minute I'm getting my arm melted. None of them could explain my arm either. They couldn't explain the type of burn. It was almost like a microwave radiation burn. It was really, really strange. I've still got it now to this day. It's a nasty looking scar, It's gotten a lot better looking, but it's pretty bad. I look like I should be in jail or something, But it's a terrible one. But it's just one of those things. I can't explain it. They couldn't explain it. And you can't actually say to doctors that, I think a ball of light that came up to me caused this, or it gave off a flash. They'll just think, oh, you're nuts.
Well,
straight
no,
away.
and
So
if you do say
win.
that, then you'll get referred to Kit Green, which in the U.S. isn't necessarily the best course of action.
Oh, really? Kit Green. I've heard of this. What is this?
Oh, Dr. Kit Green is involved with Hal Puthoff and Dr. Hal Puthoff and Robert Bigelow and some people that are really, doing things with regard to Skinwalker Ranch, and they have definitely shaped a narrative here in the U.S. which isn't necessarily truthful, and I think at the end of the day are up to no good. We're not quite sure why, but yeah, they seem to be linked to, they are linked to having, getting people that have had up close and personal UFO experiences to the nearest clinic in Reno, Las Vegas, or Reno, Nevada, to get MRIs and different things. So we'll have to talk a little bit about that.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. You mentioned MRIs too, after I've mentioned the, about Harvard and their MRIs. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
so maybe
is.
They all know something, and Bigelow's onto it now.
Oh, I'm thinking there's a connection, and if Bigelow's onto it, then we know we should run for the hills. That's my personal thing. But it is interesting, though, with the health effects, and you say that you were told, your doctor told you that you had, the body of an 80-year-old woman.
90.
90,
yeah.
Which is really interesting to me. I have
not the body of a 90-year-old woman, but the bones.
The body.
If I had a body of an 92-year-old woman, I'd be like, I wouldn't be on here with you now. I'd be like, in a nursing home, I guess. I'd be trying to convince them that I'm actually just 42 and not 90.
Sorry.
So it's all good.
Thank you for making me laugh. I needed that tonight. But yes, so it is really interesting, though, because I had cataracts at 32 and have degenerative joint disease, and two of my doctors have told me that I have the bones of a 90-year-old man.
Oh,
so maybe.
It's kind of like opposites.
I don't know.
But the same. What the far out? Okay, well, I'm a 90-year-old woman and you're a 90-year-old man. So
seriously.
There we go.
When we meet in a nursing home,
you find out something new every day. It's true.
I know I do. Don't know when I need to share that, but it was just anyway, very interesting. So I
don't feel so alone now. So thank you.
Well, no, it is interesting because I've had 2 shoulder surgeries. I'm supposed to have a shoulder replacement, hip and knee replacement replacement too, because I don't have any cartilage. And, I mean, I'm not saying that that is linked to anything extraterrestrial. I'm just saying it is very interesting. And I also did live the first year of my life out at Dugway Proving Ground, which I always think is interesting, since there's some, interesting things going on around there. Damien, we're just gonna have to talk. I've got some stuff to fill you in on, but anyway, so you have these experiences. You decide you're going to completely back off, and so you just let the Harvard study just kind of go because you were hacked. And tell us a little bit about what happened when you got hacked.
Well, I don't know who did it. Like within a period of about a week and a half, maybe, everything that I was working on, even I eventually got my regular Facebook page back, but they even tried getting into that. But I did convince Facebook that it was my page eventually, and I got it back. But I lost my public figure page. That was completely deleted. A whole bunch of different things. The website, the there was other things too that happened. Really strange phone calls during that week. Mel was getting strange phone calls. Our phones would call us up. Our own numbers would call our phones up. And then when we pick up, there'd be no one there. And it'd be just like a clicking sound. You're like, why is my number? And this has happened in front of multiple people. Your own number would call your phone up. Wow. Like, that's impossible. How can that happen? That's happened multiple times. It's really, really weird. And so, I don't know about the whole Harvard thing. I don't know where they've gone to with this whole, what they've worked out or anything. I don't think that they'll be able to work out too much because there's probably too many variables in the UFO phenomenon and with people and people's minds as well. But I think that it wasn't just UFOs. I think that because also incorporated into the whole UFO thing is paranormal phenomenon, which is strange too, because the UFO phenomenon itself has like a degree of high strangeness attached to it or involved with it, and almost in a way that it is paranormal. It's like magic in a way. These things, like it's a strange observance of humans, and I think they can observe us in many, many ways. It seems like that's what they're doing. To me personally, I've always had a feeling that whatever this is, and I know humans don't want to hear this, that we may be an experiment or that we may be something that's created by something else that's more intelligent than us, because the ultimate thing that any intelligent race can do is create another intelligent race. That's the ultimate apex of what an intelligent race can do, and we're nearly at the point of that too, where we're cloning, or we had the ability to clone animals and sheep and stuff like that, but I'm talking complex intelligence. I'm talking human beings and stuff like that. Now, if we were created, let's say, it would make sense that our creators would keep an eye on us, not necessarily, jump in and change history every chance they get, but just watch us, let us evolve at our own pace. It's almost like if you're a scientist and you're developing bacteria in a petri dish, you don't jump in with the bacteria and live with it. And then, you watch it from afar and you keep your eye on it and you watch it grow and you watch it, but if that bacteria gets too out of control, I guess, you could start again and then wipe it all out. And who knows if that's happened on Earth here with us. I mean, there's theories that, we know the asteroids have wiped out many races, dinosaurs and also, humanoids, and bottlenecked us down to a few hundred people, and we've gone underground and all this sort of stuff. And so who knows how many times, it goes into the question about ancient history and the truth about ancient history, how far back we go. I think that we'll find that a lot of the species like Homo erectus, Neanderthals, Cro-Magnon, and the rest are probably also experiments of some type in a intelligent life form, and it's built up to us, because we know we were walking alongside Neanderthals and Homo erectus and stuff like that, and we're actually making out and having sex with with Neanderthals. So even to this day, modern humans have up to 2% Neanderthal DNA built into them. So it's before that, prior, we thought, hey, one came after the other. No, we were walking alongside each other. So this experiment has gone on for many probably hundreds of thousands of years, up to millions of years, who knows? But it's something that I'm left with, a feeling that that is a truth, but I don't know, and I can't put that out there and say that it is the truth because I don't know, again. So
Well, and it is interesting because, you get into this, you have an initial sighting, and then, I mean, I think all of us, I think everyone here listening, it's like you want to know what's going on. And so you turn to the media, or you have a whole new group of people that are coming at you, and they're filling you full of ideas, or you're seeing specific shows on certain channels that have, they want to promote this kind of a history of humankind that is it's all about the white man building up this history, and how does, I mean, there's so many things that I look back on now for me personally and think, holy crap, all this is been kind of seeded into the UFO community, and we're going down these rabbit holes and thinking that maybe we are, we've been experimented on, and we are, like some of the people that promote, I'm a my lab, and I'm so special that I've been abducted by aliens, and I have this DNA that is unlike any others. And so you go down, you have this initial sighting or sightings, and then you get pushed further and further down a rabbit hole that is just like,
it's hard to climb out of.
I know.
once you
I
go
mean, it
too
is.
far down.
I mean, and Damon, yeah. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Scott can attest to that. I think all of us can. It's like you want to know more, and then it's like, holy cow. And for you, with the health effects that you've suffered, and some of the strange things that have happened, you had to pull back and then go and just kind of say, okay, this is what we need to do, and things. And then and here comes Damien again. So, but I mean, it's just, yeah, the whole thing is fascinating to me. And I think for me, having had some of the more negative effects because of the people involved in the subject, and it sounds like you, Damien, with the health effects and things like that, it's like it hasn't been, kind of a love and light thing. And so how do you get back to finding that kind of joy of getting out there and investigating things?
You got to like just eventually kind of disconnect yourself from the UFO field as much as possible, from other people's thoughts and ideas and what they think about you, and none of that's important. At the end of the day, none of it's important. People are entitled to their thoughts and opinions and stuff like that, but it's like water off a duck's back. When I first came out, I was the opposite. I was like, oh man, why aren't some people believing me? Like, it's all these people have seen it with me, like, and I've got evidence. Why don't they believe me? And then I'm like, well, I realize, hey, people want to, I think it's human nature. People want to bring other people down. They want to like pick one of your videos and say, oh, he's a hoaxer. So all of them are fake because this one could be this, or it looks like this. So everything and all his experiences are not real, and everything he's seen that he hasn't captured are not real. And this is what people do. They'll try and bring you down, and then all of a sudden they'll promote themselves, and that's human nature, right? Like, it's ego. It's we're all trying to like climb this ladder, and other people will climb over your head and step on your head and climb above you, and that's just the way it is in human nature, right? So I'm not that type of person, but at the same time, I'm not someone who likes to be messed with, so I will give as good as I get, if not worse. So I mean, it's funny, like at a few of my presentations over the years here, I've had like people threaten me beforehand on Facebook or whatever, and I'm coming to your presentation, I'm going to kill you, and all this sort of stuff. And some people think I'm a reptilian. I got this group and headed by this guy called the Reptilian Hunter years ago, used to follow me to my conferences and then film me, and then because like I'm part Italian, so I wave my hands around a little bit, I'll be like, very, and then because they're filming it in a low light environment, so it kind of looks like my hands. See, you can see now, right? My hands all over the shop, but I don't go that fast or anything. But anyway, so they'll see your hand. Oh, and all of a sudden you're shape shifting. It's like, no, I'm not shape shifting.
But you're Italian, so we've got it figured out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I've got the Cuomo defense. Sorry, Cuomo, is it? Sorry, I'm injecting a bit of humor into this. Sorry, but yeah, except for the touching, I'm not doing any of that part of it. But sorry. Jeez. Anyway, good thing to talk about during a UFO interview. Yeah.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So
At least we're not talking about Epstein. That's another kettle of fish. So it's
sweet balls of fire. Hail Mary and damnation.
Thank you, Lord. Exactly. So I even forget what I was talking about. So
well, I mean, clearly you've thrown me off track too. But thank you. Yes,
I tend to do that to people.
The
Sorry.
people coming in and saying that you're a reptilian shapeshifter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And yeah, so there was literally a group. So how many people were in this group that would come film you?
There was 5 of them. The head honcho, and then so they'd come to my talks, film me, then put it up online. And so there's ones where my eyes turn completely white and glow, and it's just because the angle I'm looking at the light or something. It's just something silly, right? And my eyes are completely red because of red eye or whatever. I don't know. And so yeah, they absolutely believe that I was a reptilian shape-shifting alien. And anybody, this is what they said, that anybody who's in the public eye talking about UFOs is a reptilian. So you guys are reptilians. I'm a reptilian. All of us are reptilians.
No, I'm Queen of the Dark Cabal, Empress of the Dark Cabal. That's what I've been.
I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really,
I like that.
mean, Halloween's going to be fun this year. But it is amazing, though, how you do get these labels if you ask questions, and you're disobeying the cult. Then you are
you're going against the grain. So you're a pariah. You're someone who needs to be taken down or cancelled. So,
right. And so who were these people again?
The reptilian hunters.
Okay.
Anyway, so one of the presentations I saw, because one of them threatened to kill me like a week before, literally take me out. So he brought 4 of his friends along, and so halfway through my presentation, like it's a 4-hour presentation, we had a bit of a break at 2 hours. So I've gone down there. I've seen them all sitting there and staring at me and filming me and getting all like give me angry faces and stuff. And I was like, here we go. So I just confronted him, walked straight up to the leader, the reptilian hunter, whispered something I won't repeat in his ear, and then he just went, "Oh no, I love your work, man. I love your stuff. I love it. You're great. You're great for the field." And I'm like, "Oh really? So I'm not a shape-shifting reptilian alien no more that you want to kill and like cut my throat?" No, I didn't say that. I said, "Yeah, you did. I've got here it is. Doesn't matter." I looked at all these friends. I said, "Any one of you guys want to go me? I'm here right now. If you want to kill me, now's your time. Now's your chance." And there's people all around, but I didn't raise my voice or anything. I just wanted to keep it between these guys and myself as much as possible. But it's when you confront them, they're tough behind their computer, but when you confront them face to face and actually walk right up to them and ask them what their problem is, and here you go, take your shot right now, they just all back down. And I've had this multiple times over the years, and again, it's like a competition thing in this field. Everyone's competing with each other to be the best UFO hunter or the best researcher or the best whatever, and people rubbish each other behind their backs and stuff. Right. I try and keep away from that stuff as much as possible. I don't want nothing to do with that negativity, life's hard enough as it is without having to deal with a bunch of people who want to compete with you all the time. And I'm not about competing with anyone. I run my own race in life. So
right. Yeah. And I mean, and I think that's the thing. And it's like you just try to put things forward, and then you're the subject of attacks and different things. And so did you find, I mean, were these people, I mean, where did they come from? How were they connected?
Oh, they're just all Sydney-siders. They'd follow me to talks at the Blue Mountains, in Ryde, in Sydney City. They came to a talk there, and they're just, and there's others as well that have threatened. One threatened to roundhouse kick me in the head. I'm like, oh, that's a great way to go. So I was like, he came along to a talk, and here's another one. Like halfway through, I was looking for him, and he disappeared because I saw him come in the room, and he disappeared. So I'm looking around, there he is outside this glass door outside, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go and standing by himself. I'm gonna go and confront him, and sure enough, walk straight up to him. He turns around and he looks up at me, and he's like, oh, hey, how you going? I said, so I'm here. You want to kill me again? And no, it's like, no, man, I love your work. And they go this weird shade of pink and white and stuff, and you're like, whoa.
Do you think these people have ever actually had a date?
I don't think so. I think that
Okay.
literally that morning they got released from grandmother's basement.
Okay.
That she unlocked the padlock and took it off and let them out, and then said, "You got to come back by 6 p.m. Otherwise, you're grounded. You're back down in the basement for another month."
And
So
so this was their big day out of the
this
basements
was
because
this.
clearly, so that was, I'm going to feel good and do the roundhouse and, I mean, wow,
Yeah,
how's
yeah,
that
yeah,
working for
yeah.
you? Watch another YouTube video. Tell
Well, I
us
mean,
what
this
you're
guy
doing in
was that
private.
short. He was that short. I don't and large. I don't think he would have been able to lift his leg above his head anyway to reach my head. So the whole threat of a roundhouse kick wasn't really too, threatening to me. So yeah. There's a crazy part of the subject. You meet, like Mike says, and I've said a lot, because I've learnt behind the scenes and I've met these people that, it's a fringe science, so it attracts fringe people. And this is
That's
true.
fringe
This
is
is
a
true.
very, very nice way of putting it. Really.
That's what I like to use the term fringe, because it is quite a fringe subject. It's a
It,
fringe science, I
right,
should say,
right.
rather
Yeah,
than a fringe subject,
yes.
because it's a
And
truth, it's a reality, but it's
ooh,
sitting there on the fringe, and that's where it attracts these individuals. And it's like with any fringe subject, it will attract out there people, mostly lovely people, right? But then you get, and every crowd, you get your troublemakers, you get your people locked in grandma's basement type people, all that sort of stuff. So
and there were 5 of them.
yeah.
How did they find each other? I
Oh,
mean,
through
the
the internet.
internet, okay, and they
It's
were
the internet and Facebook
okay.
reptilian
Oh,
hunter groups.
oh, oh,
Yeah,
oh,
I think they're
okay.
involved in some sort of reptilian hunter group, and I was the object of their desire at the time. So until I confronted them, and then I never heard from them again. All the ones I've confronted, I've never heard from them again. So I mean, people
But
can
these
say,
people came out of your way. They came out of their way to follow you to
to
different
try and intimidate me.
conferences.
Yeah, to try and intimidate me.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so are these videos still available online that they posted?
I have no idea. I haven't seen them for years, so I have no idea. I mean, we made complaints about them, about their YouTube channel, and
Right.
I didn't see it anymore. So I don't know if it got taken down, but I had a lot of my friends make complaints on the channel as well, saying it was rubbish, it was lies, it was just made up stuff. It's if I was a reptilian anyway, I wouldn't tell anyone. I wouldn't brag about it. I wouldn't,
What?
I just keep it to myself. Yeah.
Come on, that seems to be the big thing. Just ask David Icke.
You
I
have to
mean,
tell. Everyone wants to say that they're reptilians now, or they're Venusians, or that they're star seeds.
personally,
Yeah,
I would like to be a Venusian, but clearly I am a foot too short and have dark hair, so it's not working for me. But
Well, you're closer to Amazonian, I'd say, than Venusian.
what? Okay, I might need to go to therapy because of that. What are you trying to say?
Yeah, like Wonder Woman. You got the Wonder Woman look,
Okay,
not the
okay, try
Venusian
to back
style.
out of that. Try to
That's
back
better
out
than
of that.
Venusian.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Much better than Venusian. Yeah.
Good cover. Good save there, Damien. That was good. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
so it
this
is a
cracking me up.
strange field filled with strange characters. And I mean, I guess I'm probably strange as well to deal with it all. I mean, you have to be a little bit out there in life. You have to have a sense of humor, and especially being an Aussie, we all have the real Aussies have a sense of self-depreciating humor where you can
Right.
actually take the mickey out of yourself, and makes it easier, to deal with stuff if you can do that, and I've always been able to do that, so that's fine. Yeah, it makes it easy because other people can say what they want. It really, it's water off a duck's back. At the end of the day, it means nothing. It means less than nothing. People don't pay your bills. I mean,
Right.
they don't put food on your table. They don't feed your children. So, what does their thoughts matter? Of someone sitting behind the computer, keyboard warriors, I call them. No point. So I don't listen to any of that. That's why, and Scott will tell you as well, I don't post in UFO groups. His In the Field is the only group in a decade now I've ever posted in, ever. He's the only group. Other people have shared my stuff and whatnot, but I prefer not to shove my stuff down people's throats. If people find me, I'd rather it be organic and, that kind of thing, and build up that way. And like I said, every time I start to get, more and more people interested in talking to me, I kind of back away because it's not about me. It's about the phenomenon. It's not about my personal story. I just the biggest drive for me is pain in my life. Having friends, reject me because of the UFO thing, having family reject me because of the UFO thing. My whole life I've had that happen. And it's funny because the people who've seen the UFOs around me in my family, they're on the side, on my side, and then you've got others who think you're nuts, you're crazy, and whatnot because they haven't seen it with you, and so it's a subject that really deeply affects people's lives, like on a
Right.
really fundamental level, and it affected me as a kid. It changed my whole outlook on everything right from the start, and maybe that's why I feel so passionate now about about the phenomenon, about telling people it's real, and don't laugh at the next person who says that they've seen something strange in the sky. And times seem to be changing, and I think the internet has a lot to do with that. Openness. People are more willing now to speak about it, but at the same time, like you're saying, like with a group of 10 people, you'll get a couple of them which are making up stories or whatever the case is, or wishful thinkers, and you can't. That's just human nature again, too. So.
Well, thank you. I mean, because you're clearly, displaying traits that I really admire. I mean, it's just like, yes, let it roll off your back. I'm here at the end of the day. You are saying that you've taken hits, and that's a perfect point. I think all of us here that are, going through this discovery process have taken a lot of hits. And the people that I know and respect who have dedicated their lives to archiving and researching, I mean, it's not a life that is conducive to a social, your social structure. I mean, it's very hard
Yeah,
for professional careers. It's hard for, personal
that's another thing. Exactly.
relationships. And it's not, I know some people, when you get into the subject kind of on the periphery, and, you're going to go to an organization's meetings every month and, have the barbecue, and it's a great way to meet people. I mean, that's great. But when you push it a little bit further, then you do see some of the fallout that I think all of us have had to go through because of pushing boundaries in that regard. And I think that's unfortunate, but
It
so.
is, and you made a really good point too with he mentioned about work and stuff like that, because employees nowadays, the first thing that they look at, I think they did a study here, and I think it was something like 90+% of employees look at potentially employers look at potential employees Facebook pages and social media to find out who they're going to get working with them, because you can get a basic general idea of someone by checking out their Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that everybody shows their good side on Facebook, no one really shows like all the bad stuff.
Depends on the time of day.
Yeah, exactly. But but yeah, it's you can find, yeah, and so employees, they look for that kind of thing, and if you're they type in your name and you're a guy, hey, this guy claims to have had a ball of light come down and sit above his head or something, or he's seen strange light since he was a kid. Oh, I think he's on acid, or you know what I mean? Like that's a lot of this.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
and
who
that's
knows what
true.
they
They should
think?
be
Yeah,
looking at social media, but then you
yeah.
have people that are claiming to see shape shifting werewolves and bulletproof dogs that are working for the military. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, anyway, that's
Wow,
on a
I
side
haven't heard that
note.
one.
Yeah, well, I could tell you more, but I won't. But anyway, I will maybe
Thank you.
later. But
Later.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, later. So I want to ask you a question because Shadowy Spectrums has asked a couple questions, and I've been negligent of my duty this evening. So, Damien, do UFO nests like the Tully nest in the '60s still happen today?
There's not many cases around that I've seen nowadays. Tally Nest is a really very interesting case. It was investigated by Mike Williams, a friend of mine who's been investigating my case. He investigated Tully's Nest years ago, along with Bill Chalker, another friend as well. He's Australia's top ufologist. But yeah, they both found a very, very unusual case. And uh, as far as I know, there's not too much of that happening nowadays. That seems to have been caused by one of these old school flying saucer type UFOs. It was seen above the actual reeds at the time, and as it was spinning, it flattened everything underneath it. And directly under was water. So this has flattened these reeds on the water in a perfect circle. And apparently it had gone down. It had, very close. So these cases are extremely rare, extremely rare. And so yeah, we don't hear much about that at all. And if I did, yeah, like I'd be wanting to go out and see it myself, especially here in Australia at the moment, because we can't really go anywhere or do anything else. So overseas, but yeah, no, it's interesting question, and if I do come across a case like that, I will speak about it on my public figure page or on the new website coming out or whatever. But I find it quite interesting. But a man to speak to about that case, to find out all the little juicy details, I won't go into now. I'll let him do it. Is Bill Chalker and Mike Williams, and they both spoke to the original farmers. They've got film footage there from many years ago. And yeah, interesting case. There was another case here in Australia, I think back in the 70s too, which in farmland, very similar to us here, but it was down in Victoria, where it was a very similar case. And it was one of the first eyewitness sightings that was recorded on TV in Australia's history about UFOs, and especially about a possible landing. This object in a field had come down and hovered above the grass again, killing the grass underneath it. Even 20 years later, the grass was still destroyed underneath it in this perfectly round circular patch, and nothing will grow there in this area. So it was really affected by some type of deep radiation that penetrated the earth, seemingly, and killing off all the seeds and killing off the grass. And
Wow.
so there has been a few cases like that here in Australia, and possibly a few around the world, but they seem to be all older cases. That phenomenon doesn't seem to take place nowadays, because most of what's reported around the world, something like 80%, or here in Australia at least, about 83%, balls of light that are reported over, flying saucers, which is 50, 60, 70 years ago. Most people would have reported flying saucers flying around. So for whatever reason that is, who knows, whether it's that some people think that they're us from the future, or that they're parallel living alongside of us. There's, and I think this could explain a lot of what's actually going on in the skies and around us. Maybe their technology is just a little bit more advanced than ours, and as ours grows, it grows further exponentially. And so it's sort of like, and so they're existing alongside of us, but they're just constantly slightly ahead of us in what they're showing us anyway. But yeah, the nuts and bolts craft, they don't seem to exist so much nowadays. They're hyper rare. And you guys over in the States, I know that you see a lot of the triangular and delta shaped winged craft.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see so much of that down here in Australia. It's actually very, very rare. It makes up maybe 3 to 2% of the overall sightings. But what
Which
I
is
did
interesting,
see
and
recently,
I think,
yeah.
and I just want to throw this in here. I think with what we have developed, with our technology, I think definitely some of the things that we've seen over here in the triangle craft, and even some of the
I agree.
balls of light. I mean, we now know that we've got technology that can mimic a ball of light and can produce some sort of auditory, a sound. So there's so much going on, and especially here in the United States, and I'm sure where you are too, you guys are developing technologies that are very similar to some of the things that we're seeing. And so I have to ask you, if you've got things that are, and I know that Dr. Jacques Vallée talks a little bit about this. You've got people that promote the fact that some of these things that we're seeing are actually just a couple steps ahead of us, and that they're just that's part of the phenomenon. Or do you think that that's actually technology that we're developing, and people that are trying to cover for that technology by using the UFO thing or the paranormal thing to potentially mimic some of these
to
sightings?
cover it as like a blanket kind of thing? Yeah, that's a really good question. Now, personally, I think that there is a core phenomenon. Regards all this other stuff, could it be government? Could it be this? Could it be that? I think there's a core phenomenon. I don't believe that the government would appear above someone's, like just say the American government, right, would appear above someone's tree in front of them, bob up and down, give off a bright light, and then just disappear and do like, okay, if these things exist, they'd be top secret. We wouldn't want other powers to know we have this type of technology. So we wouldn't be just flying them around country towns in Australia.
Or would we?
Oh, maybe you would, just to freak us out a little
Well, I
bit.
mean,
I don't
and I
know.
think that, with the, like with the Nimitz and things, I mean, it's like you release something and, oh, this alien technology, and, then you're putting it out there to a country. What in the crap has the U.S. developed, and things like that? And so maybe there would be some benefit to, oh, what are they doing over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good question, but the way I see it is, if they do have this top secret equipment, they have areas where, they have thousands and thousands of acres where they could test it in the desert over there without ever being seen by anybody, without ever having the chance of it falling from the sky and landing in other countries' pockets and them reverse engineering it, or whatever the case is. It would be highly risky that they'd send these things all around the world, and to spy on people or whatever the case is. But at the same time, like you're saying, we don't know what technology that they actually have. Especially you guys. You guys are ahead of the world when it comes to new technology and new military, everything. And so we kind of look up to you guys. We're like maybe 20 years behind because we're at the bottom of the earth or something. I don't know why, but but you guys like seem to be the ants pants when it comes to the technology of all different types around the world. So I'd say that it wouldn't be the Australian government if they were developing certain balls of light or craft or whatever. I doubt it would be us. I doubt we would be as advanced as you guys. But even still, I know that certain balls of plasma or plasma light, like scientists have tried to replicate it in closed environments, in laboratories and whatnot. And all they can do is mimic a ball of light in an enclosed space for a very small amount of time. As soon as it is exposed to oxygen, the ball of light dissipates and disappears. So unless in the last few years they've worked a way to encapsulate that plasma with some shield or something around it to protect it from the outside environment, then I'm not sure if this could be what it is really, because some people think that ball lightning is a plasma type phenomenon. Now, and ball lightning is very, very short lasting, and so, but it's almost indistinguishable to ball of light UFO phenomenon. So what are we looking at? Are we looking at something natural to the Earth, paranatural to the Earth, or are we looking at something paranormal, or are we looking at something from up here that's coming down? No, personally, I believe that the phenomenon is natural. That's why I call it paranatural. And the next documentary, Fractured Realities 2, is called A Paranatural Enigma, because I believe that the phenomenon is natural. We just don't know about it yet. It's part of the universe. It's part of the Earth. It's part of what we are. It's part of everything. But because we haven't recognized it as a reality yet, and we know little to nothing about it, we put it on the back foot and we just continue with our lives and move ahead, kind of thing, and work and whatever. So we really know nothing about it. And so that's why I always say to anyone who says that they know what the phenomenon is, and that it's Venusian or it's this or it's that, or it's a guy called Hathor, the Egyptian gods,
Amazonian.
the Amazonian gods. Yeah, exactly. So who knows? Who really knows at the end of the day? But that's why I prefer to keep my opinions to myself about it. Every now and then I'll put out a possible hypotheses and make people think, and they can think for themselves, and I'll just put across a couple bits of evidence, like I'm doing in Haunted Skies and Fractured Realities Part 2 at the moment. I'm putting across a few hypotheses of what it could be, then I'm putting across some evidence to point to that. But I'm not saying 100% that it is, because I don't know at the end of the day. And I want to try and keep this as real as possible, the phenomenon. What means everything to me is getting rid of the stigma as much as I can in people's minds about the phenomenon, so other people in the future can feel like that they can open up and talk to people, talk to their family about it without being sent away or rubbished or becoming the black sheep of the family like I was, So, it's just one of those things. But it's probably a losing battle, whatever the case is. But if I can open up a few people's minds to the possibility we're not alone, then that's kind of spreads out, and people talk to other people, and it, and so eventually it's going to reach a precipice where, it's not going to be as controversial, let's say, to talk about the subject. So that's what I'm hoping it's going to be. So
that's really nice and very sincere, and I think it's much needed. I think people do have incredible experiences, and maybe people are misidentifying things, but they learn. Maybe people are, I mean, there's so many things, factors out there, but the fact that you can be, you want to create a safe place, you want to create a place where you're not putting your belief systems, imposing your belief systems onto people that are having experiences. I think that's really important. And that says a lot, about you. So I commend you for that. That's really awesome. And so I want to, because we've got some videos here. And so I'm going to show this video, which is the best UAP, volume 2. And so we're going to show this, and then Scott's going to be on the floor. Are you ready, Scott?
I'm ready.
Oh, Lord Mary.
Wild images.
Yeah, I put together recently a couple of compilations of some of my best, the best captures, and made sure I put together the ones with witnesses and multiple cameras, and video and photographic evidence on each one of them, or most of them anyway. As much as you can get, because as you know, sometimes the phenomenon is quite short-living, so you only have a certain amount of time to be able to focus and take as many photos or videos. So I try and get both as much as possible. And what I've noticed, Scott, with the rigs as well, is that they can be quite impractical. when trying to get them out in the field, unless you're there in a hotspot already and you set it up and got it pointed in the one direction. But if you go outside and just say see a UFO, and you're not going to run inside, grab the rig and smash everything on the way out, and then set up all the cameras and then stick it up at the sky and hope that it's still there. And it doesn't quite work that way. So I found it to be quite impractical unless you're going out and doing some field investigation work. And like I said, you've got it set up pointing towards a certain direction or whatever, and hoping something happens. I haven't had much luck with the rig at all, to tell you the truth. So over the years, not much luck at all. I've probably filmed about 3 and UFOs with it out of all my captures. So yeah, I haven't had too much luck. But yeah, what can I say?
Yeah, I don't really use a rig. I'll sometimes throw something on a tripod, and maybe fire off stills or let the video run for a while. But like you said, you're focused on one section of the sky. So if you see something over here and you've got it set up, then you're like, and there's been times where I've seen something that's out of frame and I had to try to get the camera off the tripod. And, mostly for me, I'm just kind of handheld and just moving around and trying to scan and see what's going on around me,
Sure, that's the best way to be. Yeah, I think a single handheld camera, and you're sweet. But I mean, there's also a way where I've got a few of them here where there's a handle you can get and a crossbar where you can attach a camera on a handle. So just hold it in one hand and you've got one camera on each. It kind of it's a lot better than the rig, having the rig, and you can just boom, record, and then point around the sky. And I think, yeah, that kind of makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, it's just finding all the parts on the internet. And I'm a bit like Inspector Gadget. I like putting all these things together. And, when I was a little kid, I liked Lego and all that sort of stuff. So I like, and so when I put together my rigs and I make them every possible thing that you could think that you would need on them, and it all turns out to be pretty useless anyway. So, but at least you try, right? So,
right.
Yeah, it's all about trying. And
so, how much do you think? So, and I know it's hard to estimate, but how much do you think, like, let's say over the last 10 years, that you've invested in the camera equipment?
I'd say at least $13,000 thereabouts.
Yeah.
13 to 14, something like that. Yeah. Every chance I got, I would get a camera of some description. And many of them, though, I'm down to like 58 now. I think I had over 70 something at one stage, but
wow.
I've sent many overseas to people who can't afford cameras and people who are poor. A few people in America. If I've done that a lot because I want other people to share the experience or to see something themselves and be able to film it, if they can't afford a camera or whatever. So I've helped out a few people in that respect. So I'm down to like 58 cameras now, but I mean, that's enough. I just need a Sony A7R Mark IV with 2 lenses, a landscape lens and maybe a pancake lens or something, and I'll be happy with that. I'll get rid of all my other cameras. I'm actually selling them at the moment, so I need to get rid of them all. You're right. Yeah, so
okay.
And
anyway, on that note, yes, this would be a catastrophe. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. So yes, I just dumped water on my keyboard. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Is that what it was? Didn't see the keyboard.
So,
that's all right. We do that down here all the time. So it's all
I was just having a moment. So
a moment.
Yes.
I
have them too. So
I noticed that you do a lot of storm photography as well, and you've got some absolutely beautiful photographs of different storm clouds and the landscape of where you are down there in Australia. And I was wondering, as you're shooting, your intention is to capture the storm clouds and the landscape and the beauty of it all. Have you mistakenly captured something during while you're doing that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, a couple of times I've caught something very strange I can't explain while filming storms. Both times, once in Taree and once here in Dunedoo. And oh, three times, sorry, twice here in Dunedoo and once in Taree. I caught a, but again, we were speaking before about, balls of light being similar to the ball lightning phenomenon. So a lot of people saying when I do post stuff up showing, UFOs around storms, a lot of people think, oh, they're attracted to the storms and all this sort of stuff. But out of all the storms I've filmed or captured, I mean, I've only seen 2 or 3, like I was saying. So out of, 50 photographs or videos, 3 out of 50 doesn't really point to an absolute connection between UFOs and storms.
Right.
But I mean, unless they're hiding above the cloud and I'm not seeing them, who knows? But yeah, so I mean, it doesn't point to an absolute connection. If there was a much higher ratio of UFOs that I was seeing during storms, then maybe. But I mean, why would they need to come down? I mean, they have absolutely the most incredible technology, right? Being able to jump possibly between dimensions. Who knows what they're doing? Why would they come down and use our lightning to power themselves? Don't they have their own power source? I mean, it kind of makes you think, okay, well, it's a bit strange that they'd be much more advanced than lightning, surely. Whatever's powering them, unless, but again, we don't know. So we don't know what they're doing. They don't talk to me, so
they don't talk to me either.
Oh, good.
Tonight's the last night of the show, then, because if they're not talking to you, then I'm done. I clearly, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean,
you hope that they were.
I know, because I need to have a press conference in Washington D.C. and talk about all the things I'm receiving. I don't know what, but I guess I'll just try to clean up my keyboard. That's more important than communicating with alien beings. Oh, God. Anyway,
sorry, I hope I didn't just snort when I laughed.
No, I think you did, but that's okay. That kind of takes a little heat off of me.
Great. Here we go.
Yeah. So thank you. So
I was just taking the attention off your keyboard. So.
That's comforting. That's good. And I can't be held responsible for anything that happens from here on out. So anyway, Shadowy Spectrums again wants me to ask: Did you? What happens when you try to communicate? I mean, are you?
When I try and put thoughts across or whatever the case, I've done that a couple of times or several times, and 2 out of the 7 times, something has appeared. Literally within 7 to 15 seconds, something has appeared in the sky. And because I've had a lot of people over the years come up and do sky watches wherever I've lived with me, and people come from all around Australia to come here or go over and do a sky watch and that. And a lot of what I've noticed is even like CE5s, I've gone and done a couple of them. I've had no luck with CE5s whatsoever.
Well, Dr. Greer wasn't there.
He wasn't there. That's why.
I mean, come on, you didn't pay $3,000.
Yeah, unfortunately,
you have to pay the money.
Taking the garbage bin out,
and then you'll see the ships.
That's right. You need to get the app, pay the money, buy the extras, and and then they come along.
You got it going on now.
It unlocks the alien, and they come down, and it's great. It's anyway. I don't want to say much more about it. I've got a lot to say, but maybe for another talk or something. But I mean, like anyone who can claim outright that something is something without really even knowing that's something or really even experiencing much of it, is full of it as far as I'm concerned. It's like it's like someone who's called themselves a ufologist who's never seen a UFO. It's like a police officer who's never seen a criminal. How can you call yourself a police officer if you've never arrested a criminal? It's almost it's a strange analogy, I know, but it's kind of almost on par with what I'm thinking about. Like a lot of these people who've never seen a UFO but claim to be experts in UFOs. So how can you be an expert in something you've never seen or experienced? And so I don't even claim to be an expert, and I've experienced it quite a few times in my life, and I'm lucky because up to this point I have 211 witnesses over the last decade who've seen UFOs with me, and that's people from all walks of life. People from police officers. I had 4 motorcycle cops come up from Victoria on holidays once, standing in the backyard with me here 10 years ago, witnessing a light show across the sky similar to what I saw when I was 12, with multiple UFOs chasing each other and doing weird stuff like a game of tag, and yeah, like I've had an ex-judge, I've had lawyers, I've had firefighters, you name it, people, garbage collectors, postmen, you name it. People from all walks of life have seen the phenomenon, and I'm just happy that they go off and they tell other people what they saw, and oh wow, and it's great because it spreads it out there, and eventually, hopefully, it'll ease the stigma a bit. But I think that is happening because it seems that people are more willing to talk about UFOs nowadays, which is great, and that's all I ask for, it to be spoken about seriously and not a subject of rubbish or ridicule.
Thank you. No, I absolutely agree, and I think it is fun to have different people that I mean, from all walks of life, that you're talking to this about, and I love, in my Pilates studio. I mean, I have people from all walks of life that are coming in here, and whether they like it or not, by the end of the Pilates session, I mean, we're talking about UFOs. They get a little bit of update, maybe a ghost story here and there, and before you know it, it's just fun to watch people. Kind of break down their boundaries. And I mean, inevitably, people have stories that they want to share. I mean, it's just a fascinating and fun thing. It should be a fun thing. It should be an adventure, and I think that the three of us want to get back to that, kind of finding joy in the subject instead of all of these little games and doctors from Harvard reaching out for MRIs and Kit Green and the Bigelow boys, and I mean just this game playing, because there is something fun about getting your cameras out and going on some of the adventures that you've gone on, Damien. You've been to some really beautiful places, and I want to ask you, because you live in a place so rich with history and things. I mean, what are some of the Aborigines, some of the beliefs that you have there? It's fascinating to me. And I want to ask you too, before we get to that, have you ever seen The Last Wave?
Chloe Moretz.
No, that was a oh my gosh, that was an old film, and I think, who was the fellow in it that I can see who was in every '70s? Not that I was clearly was watching reruns of that, but oh my gosh, The Last Wave is Peter Weir, and he also did Picnic at Hanging Rock. And that was Richard Chamberlain is who that was. But I mean, you should see that, because that was a really, really, really cool movie about the end of times. And yeah, it was really awesome. But I mean, when you look at places that you want to go and some of the beliefs that people have, that they, I mean, where do you want to go? What do you want to see? Tell us about some of these wonderful cultures and ideas.
Yeah, well, we have just north of us here, this whole area is named after Aboriginal names. Like Dunedoo, for instance, means black swan in Aboriginal. So all the areas around here are Aboriginal names, because this whole area was inhabited by Aboriginals for thousands and thousands of years before white people even came here. And just north of us here, we have a place called Cooler Tops. It's about an hour and a half drive north. And there was a particular tribe of Aboriginals in this big forest. And I mean, this forest is something like out of Jurassic Park. It's like a rainforest crossed with, those gigantic trees with the gigantic trunks that go right the way up. And you're like, whoa, look, and you walk around them and it takes you like a minute almost, or 20 seconds, whatever. And so this whole thing is full of them, and even waterfalls, and it has this mist in it, like a mist that floats through it at a certain height, like all year round. It's absolutely insane. It's like the sunlight can't get through the treetops. It's that thick. So it's a really strange feeling place. I mean, you guys would love it. If you ever come to Australia, I'll take you there. It's incredible. And you can go for a hike around there and, see some kangaroos and some incredible animals and everything. But there's a legend in this park where as soon as you enter, there's a big plaque at the front and you can stop and check it out. It's like a visitor center. And they have a legend about the Pleiades star system from thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago. And what would happen in this very same forest with this tribe, women would climb, and men also would climb to the tops of these trees, these huge trees. And they actually had a god, a sky god, they would call him, who would cruise around in a light right? And then some, it used to be like television to them. So they used to go up there and watch him. And so this one night there was 7 women that went up to the tops of the trees, and legend goes that they were taken up into space, into the sky, by this Baranyana, which is a sky god. He was taken up, and they were taken up. They became the Pleiades star system, these women. Now, one of the stars in the Pleiades star system is not as bright as the rest of the stars. So that's, according to the Aboriginal legend, that sister or that woman wasn't as pretty as the other brighter stars, or the other. Wow. Yeah, that's Aboriginal legend going back thousands of years. So there you go. So I mean, that's it. If you look at Ancient Aliens and how they hypothesis about how a lot of the stuff is connected to ancient Aboriginal tribes all around the world, native tribes and all this sort of stuff, how they had legends, American Indians and all this sort of stuff. Who knows? But I find it funny. Further north in Queensland, there's another Aboriginal tribe that also has a very, very similar rendition of their belief about how the Pleiades were started. And but in their belief, the 7 sisters actually left the ground and flew up into the sky and became the star system. So very similar, but one taken by Baranyaya, a sky god, and the other one, they flew up into the sky. So who knows? It's really, really strange. So anyone looking at that would think, okay, that's an unusual story. A god of light in a ball of light cruising around the treetops, abducting or taking women into space. It almost mimics modern day stories of abductions, except 6 don't, or 7 don't get taken at once, but it's thousands of years ago. So yeah, it's crazy. So all around here we have these gods that are painted on walls of caves and stuff like that from tens of thousands of years ago. And yeah, it does make you think, and makes you question, hey, what's going on here? Especially when some of these gods have got like massive black eyes and small heads and small bodies, and you think, oh, okay, it's a bit strange looking,
Sounds like a guy I dated once.
Yeah. You sure he wasn't an alien?
Yeah, nothing's off the table when it comes to my dating life. I'm thinking, just kidding.
Fair enough. Well, see, it's the Amazonian.
You started this. Yeah, well, I know. I mean, I scare most big-eyed creatures, little people.
Oh, there you go.
You started this, Damien. I just have to say I'm blaming this on you.
It's my fault. You can blame it on me. I'm on the other side of the world.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I'll deal with that.
Thanks for taking one for the team. Thank you so
Water
much.
off a duck's back again. So yeah, so it is amazing. I mean, the stories that go around, but who knows really what they are. But it does sound fascinating.
Yes.
God of light, ball of light, takes women up, they become Pleiades. One's uglier than the rest, so she's not as bright. Go figure, a man made that up, right? So probably. What can you do? Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to need therapy after the show.
Yeah, probably. Most people do after talking to me.
No, so the documentary Australian Skies can be found in like several different places, but I did find it on the Tubi channel. If people have that and it's free, you can watch it on there. And great documentary, and got some great images and some really cool captures in there.
So thank you. The yeah, that was an interesting documentary. We actually saw a UFO during the making of it, which was really good. And he put it in the documentary for 2 seconds, which was really good too. But yeah, it was. I've had a bit of luck with these objects or these lights showing up. They've shown up at 3 documentaries now that I've been in, which is really strange, including Rob Freeman's one as well.
Yes.
I just finished a presentation up at a conference up at the Gold Coast, a paranormal conference. I spoke for 4 hours about UFOs up on stage in front of like 1,000 people. Wow. Then came outside, went out onto the balcony to be filmed, talking about for the documentary or whatever the case is. And after I was filmed, he had his big rig up there. And I was like, oh, wow, that's incredible, massive rig. And $72,000 thermal camera sitting there, and I'd never seen through a thermal camera like this before. So I was like, "Yeah, I really want to look through it." He's like, "Yeah, you want to look through it, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." And so I'm looking through it. A second I've looked through it, on the other side is what you would call an old school flying saucer, except it wasn't. It was flat and had a tiniest little bump at the top, tiny, and then it would go rounded ends, perfectly rounded, perfectly symmetrical too, with a perfectly flat bottom. And I watched this and I thought that they were playing a practical joke on me because I just talked about UFOs and stuff. So I was like reaching around the thermal camera trying to scratch a sticker off. I'm thinking they've got a sticker there with a UFO on it or something. I'm like, and then there's nothing there, and I'm like, Rob, I said, can you have a look at this? I think that I've got something, because I started seeing it move because it was sitting perfectly still and it started moving to the right. And we're right on the beach. I think we're about maybe 5 or 6 stories up. This thing was on par at the same height. It moved. Rob jumped on after he started recording. We all saw that it was recording. The red light was flashing to show that it was recording. This was a new thing too. He'd only had it for maybe a year or something, and he'd used it with no problem up until this point. And so what happened was this thing has gone between 2 buildings, high rises, and then gone out to the ocean and disappeared. And so there's 15 people out there on the balcony. We're all talking about this UFO. Oh my God, this is incredible. I filmed with a 4K camera at the same time. Nothing in the sky visible to the naked eye, but this thing was giving off a thermal signature. So it was giving off a heat signature, which made it quite noticeable. It was a very unusual looking UFO, but tiny little dome on top. I mean, the tiniest little thing. It was really strange. And they went up to, they were really excited. We all thought we had the best UFO footage in the history of the universe. And so they've actually said, "Oh, we'll come down to your hotel room, and we'll show you the footage." And I was like, "Oh, brilliant." So half an hour later, I get a call and they're like, "Oh, we're coming over to show you the footage." I've opened the door and they've looked dejected. They look sad, all of them. And I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" They're like, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" The footage. And so they've put the footage in and they've put the SD card into the computer, and they're showing me. And so what's happened is when they've pressed record, instead of showing a audio and visual together, what it did was it cut out the visual part of the video and replaced it with a black screen with electronic interference going through it, but the audio was still there. So whatever this thing was seemed to affect the camera in such a way when it allowed it to only record the audio and not the visual part of the camera. So you can hear us in the background or going, "Oh, wow, that's incredible," talking about the UFO and everything, and you can't even see it. It's just all static and black static. It's crazy. So that's happened multiple times too, where UFOs have shown up during the making of documentaries. So it's a really strange thing. It's like they know you're talking about them, which is really weird in itself, right? So it's pretty strange.
And if anybody's interested, that clip is available on Rob Freeman's YouTube channel with Damien on the building and the rig and all that stuff. So you can go and watch that for free.
Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, it's definitely an out there bit of footage. But
it was interesting.
And I just have to say that Rob was over in Norway with me. And so, I mean, it was really, really cool to see.
Oh, you went to Hestelund?
Yeah. I know. Stand back and bow down to me now. I mean,
we're not worthy. Yeah,
I'm just
definitely.
kidding. Thank you.
I am jealous now. That is brilliant.
No, it was so brilliant. But Rob was there, and it was really, really neat just to see how. I mean, he's so passionate, and he's invested so much money, and it was just very, very cool. So I have seen.
I love his passion. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun. So maybe someday we can all meet in a location and have some fun, because it's just and that's the thing. You've made me, Damien, honestly I needed to laugh tonight. I think Scott and I both needed to laugh tonight, because we've had some personal things going on, and as you have, and life kind of weighs you down, and then sometimes you forget why you fell in love with this subject to begin with. And so you
got to keep it pure and childlike. If you can keep some of your childlike innocence and what kept you interested in it when you were younger, and keep that emotion, that feeling, that will keep you getting through time and time again. So life is designed to drain the inner child out of you, turn you into some hard-ass adult who, is completely different to when you were a kid. If you can keep some of that child in yourself, that's what's got me through, is some of the not the innocence, because I'm not innocent, some of the what can I say, but the just the amazingness of it is and the feelings, the emotions I used to get when I'd look up at these things, like every now and then, it's worn me down a little bit, I must admit, and I don't feel exactly the same way as I used to when I'd see them, but at the same time, they're still in my heart, they're still part of my life, and I don't care if I don't see him for 6 years now. I know that eventually I'm going to see him again, so I don't really care. I used to worry when I wouldn't see him for months on end, and I'd be like, oh, what's going on? I'd look up, and normally you'd see something every now and then, and nothing for ages, and you're like, oh, geez. And then all of a sudden you'll see him for 2 or 3 days straight, and then you'll see him the following week for another day or two, and then they'll disappear again for a few months. It's like, make up your minds, fellas. Just come at a certain time so I can set the camera up, have it ready, and hang in that part of the sky. But they don't work on what we want them to do. Unfortunately, they are.
Yeah. And so, what do you think? Because we have somebody asking a question. What do you think happened with Roswell? On the spot, and we only have 9 minutes left to go.
Well, honestly, I can't say, but I don't really think much happened with Roswell. I think that people are beating a dead horse when it comes to Roswell. I think what we need to do, and I don't really want to go into too much depth because, I'll bite your ears off and I'll probably go off on tangents, but I think that people need to concentrate less on older cases and trying to find out more information about older cases. It's as if they prove those cases, they'll prove the UFO phenomenon is real. No, what we need, and what I love about Scott and his group, is the fact that people out in the field researching it today, not 50 years ago, a case that happened 50, 60 years ago. Sure, they're interesting, but it's not going to tell you anything about the phenomenon. I mean, sure, you could say that about filming and photographing. It's not telling you about the phenomenon, it's not telling you what it is, but at least it's some type of evidence, some form of evidence. It may be in the UFO field the lowest or low form of evidence, just above story time, but it's still evidence. Like if you're a murderer and you murder someone and someone films it on camera, that'll put you away for life, that bit of footage. But with the UFO, it doesn't prove anything. We're living in an age of CGI, hoaxes, fakers, and it's to differentiate between everybody it can be quite hard. Who's the real deal and who's not, So I just let it go over my head now, do my own thing, run my own race, look back at everyone else and go, yep, I'm running my own race, and get over the finish line. And that's my thing. I'm a horse. I'm not a horse. That's the analogy.
God, we're going to have some good
it's
quotes.
The Red Bull, sorry.
We had to write a little book, maybe a picture book with some of these quotes. Quotes for self-help and ufology with Damien, Scott, and Erica. That could be good.
Yeah, fringe science attracts fringe people. Yeah, quote number one.
Good one.
Terrible.
That's a good
I'm glad
Should be
that
fairly
I've made you
easy to
guys
publish.
have a bit of a laugh, though. That's good, because it's good to have a bit of a laugh in these things. The world's a crazy place at the moment. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting everybody.
Right.
It's crazy. We're in the worst lockdown here ever, and the cases here in this state, you can't even leave your home and go down the street without getting a $5,000 fine.
Wow.
It is crazy. The police, the military, will grab you, arrest you, bring you back to your home. It's like
so how many cases do you have now?
We've had the highest yesterday we've ever had. It was 1,400 and something in a day, just in this state. So it started off with one limo driver a couple of months ago there was a flight crew returning from China to Australia. And he picked them up in the limousine. He wasn't wearing a mask. They weren't wearing a mask. They spread corona to him. Then they went back to their country. And because they didn't have to quarantine, they didn't have to hotel quarantine because they're a flight crew. So they got accepted to, So this limousine driver then went into all around Sydney after picking them up, all these shops, including liquor shops and all these different
Oh,
places, and
wow.
spread it everywhere. And now, there's, I think, 100 people have died now in the last little few weeks since this guy started spreading it. So he's been, and just,
Wow.
it was funny, just yesterday, he got arrested again and fined for not wearing a mask again. So he's, and when we're downtown, you have to wear a mask. And so there's idiots that are going, oh, no, COVID's not real and that it doesn't exist. And we don't need to wear a mask. But, it is getting a bit full on with the martial law of the government. But I do understand that they need to keep this under wraps. They need these controlled measures. Otherwise, it will get worse, unfortunately.
Well, and I think it's interesting. Scott is recovering from COVID, and he just lost his father-in-law.
Really? I'm sorry, Scott.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago to COVID-19, and I think that all of us here in the United States are seeing, people every day. I mean, we had maybe like 1,700 cases today in Utah,
Wow.
but yet we're not willing to. Wear a mask or do like little teeny things just to protect other people so small businesses can remain open and, we can try to save lives. But it is unfortunate. And I think you bring up a great point about all this that I want to reinforce in the UFO community. There's so many conspiracy theorists and so many people that are going down a very dangerous hole of getting information that can't really be vetted. You can't, it's not even accurate. And I think
Absolutely.
that we just need to be a little more considerate of fellow human beings. And at the end of the day, all of us have the right to live. And so wear a mask and do the right thing. So anyway, thanks for letting me say that, because it's very near and dear to Scott's
It's not too
heart.
much to ask, really, is it? I mean, to put a bit of cloth on your face when you're around other people. So
It's not. It's not.
it's not.
No,
It's
I
not.
mean, it shouldn't be. It's like you're on a motorcycle, you wear a helmet, you're wearing a seatbelt. You should be caring about other human beings. And I think in the UFO community, especially where the UFO New Age community, we're supposedly so evolved, and it's about love and light, and it's about all of this stuff, and yet they're the most nasty people on the planet.
Yes,
And
thank you.
so,
I've said that for years.
Okay.
Thank you. Wow.
We found each other, three of us.
No, I've said the same thing. What the hell? It is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. They preach love and light, but they're the first ones to stab you in the back, attack you, join up as a crew, talk about how special they are on their Facebook pages, how they're star seeds, and how they signed a contract before birth to do this and to do that to help humanity. And how are they helping humanity? By starting a Facebook page, talking about how special they are. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, it is, and competing stories and all this sort of stuff. My story's better than yours. I remember years ago when I came out, I'd have a bunch of people come out trying to compete with me, and I've seen UFOs too, but since I was 7, as in trying to beat me by 2 years. It's and people stealing parts of your story, adding it onto theirs, and then you're like, oh man. So this is why I try not to be around people in this field as much as possible, or the fans, or whatever the case. Fans are great, but there's a lot of people that try and trick you, and it's a waste of time. If I've gone through the years, and I was replied to like tens of thousands of messages over the last decade, and if I have a lot of people that try and waste my time, and so now you got to sort through the people who are time wasters. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I saw a UFO back in 1926. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. It's great. It's good that people feel they can share their stories with me, but I can't do much about it. All I can do is be an ear to listen to the stories, but it's all, at the beginning especially, it was all about competing with me. And that's what I noticed. It was like, and the love and the light people, they're the ones, that's why I mentioned before, it must be my frequency's not high enough, because the fact is that that's what I was actually told by them years ago. The aliens don't talk to you because your frequency's not high enough. Your vibration's not as high as ours, so therefore you're not as advanced as a human being as us. And fair enough. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. I just don't know it yet. I thought I was intelligent and slightly advanced, but clearly not.
Wow.
Mine sucks too.
I mean, that is, and I just think that's so important. I mean, I am, and thank you for sharing that, because I think this is really this is critical. It's like, we're looking for answers. You get thrown into the UFO community, and then you've got the leaders of the UFO community who are some of the most shallow and nasty people I've ever come in contact with. And they're, trying to make money on their books, or they're trying to get dates on the lecture circuit, or, they've got their band of their little minions that are going around and pushing people out of the way because, we've got to get, let him get through. And in fact, I remember speaking, I spoke at a conference, my first speaking gig ever. And I was there with Mr. Biceps, which is great in and of itself. I'm sure I have code names. Puppet show is coming later. But it's like, it was like I went to go backstage because I needed to give my presentation, to the poor people, the wonderful people that were working audio video, who I just love. But it's like I went backstage and it was like, what are you doing back here behind the curtain? He's back here. We can't look at him. Don't do it. And it was just like, and then, after the, mother of hellfire and damnation, I need to bathe in holy water for so many reasons. But, so then you've got, this, and then after the lecture of, and I will say that Biceps was very nasty to the AV people on stage, which I keep thinking, yes. And, you're getting these wonderful messages beamed from the spaceship because you are, and you're so nasty.
You're such a lovely guy.
Right. And then afterwards it was like, the little people coming around him and, swarming, and it's like these little bullies, like these little pit bulls that are just like, don't come near. And it was so crazy to see this kind of, just nonsense when it comes to this. And it's unfortunate that it's like a clown show. And it shouldn't be that way because we're all here, doing the best we can. And this is a really cool subject. And
egos. These guys with their egos, they love their egos being stroked. And when they have all these people crowd around them, it's like, oh, my ego and all this sort of stuff. And I'm lucky in a way. Like, I have probably the tiniest ego on this planet because I've seen where ego gets you in this world, in life, get your head kicked in. So I try not to have the biggest ego, you know what I mean? But, I've seen so-called leaders of these new age denominations, whatever the case is, presidents of UFO groups even, that are full on love and light brigade. They're the nastiest people I've ever come across in my life. And I've heard some stories about Biceps, and I do know a personal story about another individual who actually stayed at my place years ago. There's a big name over there in the US, massive name. I found out that, behind the scenes, these people aren't as nice or what they make themselves out to be. It's all about they're stroking their huge egos. And also, like you said, about dating in the UFO field, this is what I've noticed. A lot of them use their talks and presentations, pick up younger girls after it at Skywatches and stuff like that, take them back to their homes, and you know what? And this is, they use their position to do this exactly. Some of the things I've heard come out of some of these people's mouths of, I've never spoken to them again after hearing some of this stuff, and people around me would hear it and you're like, wow. So you're pretending to be a certain way in front of the whole UFO field in public, but in reality, behind the scenes, you're a completely and utterly different, disgusting person.
Thank you.
Not you. I was saying
no.
These individuals.
It's okay. I'm an Amazon. I can take that.
You're an Amazonian. You're strong.
It's true.
Yeah.
No, but I know. It's impressive. Again, I'm sorry. Might need to take a break just to get over what you just saw. But yeah, I know.
I need a towel. I'm sweating now.
That's what they all say. But it is so true, and it's funny to go to conferences and just see people and watch the way they behave. And it's been very funny to see. And I know we're going over time, but I think this is a really important part of the conversation. For me to be a woman in the field, and I remember being at a conference, and I'm a Pleiades instructor. I had a picture of me with my hands over my head, and I had posted that, and it was really funny because I had somebody come up to me from a UFO organization. No, you cannot have that picture because that gives people the wrong idea. And I'm like, I am sorry that maybe you have thoughts, unclean thoughts. I don't know what to say. I'm wearing a
Wow.
tank top, dude. My hands are above my head, but this was kind of those. That was something that I saw happen over and over again. It's like I'm a woman, and I'm maybe talking to other men because they're my colleagues, and then it was like the evil, get the red scarlet. I'm glad I'm wearing red. It clearly fits me. Demon seductors of ufology, I guess. Threatening women and burning down villages. I don't know what's happening, but
Yeah.
it was just like this kind of mindset, and you just think, really? I mean, seriously, this is not highly evolved. This is not professional. This is not, this is just, it's grade school. And I think maybe sometimes people didn't actually maybe have dates in high school, and now they're making up for it. Maybe even college. I mean, maybe, I don't know what. I guess, I don't know, when you
Nah,
pay for
it
that
goes back to
Big
the
Jane
Fringe
blow-up
people.
doll, I think. It's like when that's... all,
Sorry.
I mean, I'm sorry, but Big Jane, that's all you get. You go to a UFO conference. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the blow up doll that did it for me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's always about the blow up dolls, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you. But I mean, maybe that could be good for
Hey,
people.
hey.
I mean, I'm saying maybe just.
No, you got a lot of like grandma's basement. They literally came from the basement to
Right.
see you, and that's henceforth. Oh my God, that's yeah.
Basement people, yes.
Betas, yeah. We call them betas, yeah, betas or betas, yeah, one of the two. So plenty of them around.
Yeah.
What is
They're the ones who, yeah, you got your
Okay,
alpha
so-
males and your beta males and all the rest.
Okay.
Yeah, like the betas are the computer nerds who sit behind the computer, rubbishing people all day, got no lives of their own. Grandma's
Oh,
basement
okay.
type of people.
Okay.
So for future reference, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well.
They don't like alphas. They don't like anyone who's got a
Okay.
strong opinion.
Betas. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of betas at UFO conferences, Manny.
I could probably.
See, you learn something new every day.
I have. You have enlightened me in so many ways, and thank you.
Good. Good. I'm glad
my
to be of
God.
service.
No, thank you. Thank you. This is the most fun that I've had in a long, long time,
Yeah. I
and I
need.
needed that. We all needed that. So,
Yeah.
Damien,
I can tell, guys.
No,
we all
that's-
need a bit of humor.
We do. No, I love
definitely.
it, and thank you, and thanks for being here. And so, where can people find you and watch you shipped into a reptilian?
I'll give you my home address here if you want to come and see it in person. No, I've already had enough crazy people rock up at this house here unannounced, so that's not happening again. Well, you can't see me shapeshift because I'm never going to show that again. I'm trying not to shapeshift anyway. Hope I haven't done it now on your show, but I'll probably get people saying I have. But you can find my work. There's the A.A.P.I channel. It's still up. And also my new channel is Damien John Nott, which is highly imaginative. And also that's on YouTube. And then, so you've got Beyond the Spectrum, the documentary, Fractured Realities Part 1 is out there already. Both can be found on YouTube. Australian Skies. And Rob Freeman's documentary, which has just been released as well. I'm in that one. There's another 3 that have been done about me. They're being released in the next year. Plus, there's a Haunted Skies, which is coming out in February next year. It's been put on a bit of a hiatus, and that's showing the possible links between paranormal phenomenon and the UFO phenomenon, balls of light phenomenon especially, and some of the coincidences and serendipities and strange things that happen. And it's some interesting connections. And I'm also Fractured Realities Part 2 will be out in Christmas, so just before Christmas time, so it'll be like a Christmas present to nobody. To everybody, hopefully.
Well, to all of us, that'll be a nice
To everybody,
Christmas
yeah.
present. That's very nice. No, so thank you. And like I said, it's just been I've followed your work for years, and I think it's very refreshing to hear you, talk about all of the subjects you've talked about, and you have an inquisitive mind. You want to know, and you're willing to take the bumps, and bruises with all of this, and then laugh about it at the end of the day and make us laugh. And so I will be following your work, and I just have thank you for everything. This has been really a fun show.
No, thank you guys for having me on. I've really enjoyed this, and it's been a great start to my morning as well. So I really appreciate it, guys, and it's been an excellent conversation. I've really, we've had some fun. It's been good, and
Yes,
thank you
we
to
have.
the audience as well for listening and not tuning out straight away.
No, they loved it. I think everybody. This is like a collective thing. Everybody in the audience was just, yes, they needed that, and you have a lot of people in chat that were really
all
just
three
like,
people. Oh, good.
Hey, wait a minute! I actually paid a couple people to be there.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, I hope that those two had a good time.
They did. They did.
Smart ass.
God bless them.
It's been excellent talking to you, Scott, as well. This is probably the longest we've actually spoken in.
Yeah, Damien, I super appreciate it, and I got a ton of respect for you and the work that you do. And I just,
likewise.
It's been a long time where I hope that I could talk to you, and it's been more amazing than I thought it was going to be. So,
thank you, kind sir. I really appreciate that, and likewise, I've had a great time.
Yeah, let's do this again.
We've touched on some really interesting subjects too. So, but yeah, we'll definitely have to do it again.
Yeah,
I have a brain of 33 years of information that needs to be let out before this head explodes. So,
well, we would not want that to happen, and so we will do that. And so, so thank you, and take care, and I appreciate
likewise.
It, and Scott. Yeah, thank you, and I want to just
one thing.
Yeah,
one thing. Sorry, I'll be over in America next year in August, so I'll be attending the Nevada conference, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Just don't go get an MRI.
No, I won't.
Okay, good. Vegas is not the place to do it. Nevada
Harvard can pay for it.
No MRIs in Nevada.
Yeah.
I was planning on getting married by Elvis though when I get there.
Look, that'll be fun. I mean, that's somebody. People need to do that at least once in their life. That's the big.
Not to anybody in particular, just to myself.
Just to
so
someone.
I can say that Elvis married me.
Big Jane. You're taking Big Jane.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm gonna have fun. So hopefully, maybe we can meet up sometime next year, and that'd be great if I'm over in your area or whatever. So
yeah, we'd love that.
Guys.
We'd love that. Come up here, and I'll take you, on a tour of. Not Skinwalker Ranch. We'll go on a tour. Scott needs to come out. We just have a little road trip. But thank you very, very much. And I want to just thank everybody for being here and hanging out for longer than usual. I swear I just need to have a 5-hour show because I love to talk. And I have some incredible guests. Scott is a wonderful co-host. I want to thank Mario, who is back here behind the scenes, who's been the biggest show supporter for me. He's been here for 7 years, every show. And I really love it. And I want to thank all the people who've contributed to the show, both with your just the kind thoughts and love, and then also your support. You can go to ufoclassified.com to become a Patreon. I wanted to say that you guys rock. I mean, I can have the worst week in the world, and then I get here and I feel like a new person. So thank you all. Please stay safe, and remember to wear a mask and be kind to others. And on that note, hopefully we're actually going to play the credit reel and then end the show. But chances are you'll be back here 2 hours from now, and I'll be walking around. So, you never know what you're going to see.
See you, Dave.
Good night, guys.
See you, Scott. See you, Erica.
Bye.